Hello, students. This is Mr. Damiani, and we are on page 719 in the Chapter 13 workbook. We are looking at lesson 13.3. The topic for today's lesson is mean absolute deviation. All right, so a nice complex set of vocabulary for a nice complex topic. All right, but we're going to do the best we can together, and I'll show you a few steps to follow that'll help you out. The essential question for today's lesson is how do you calculate the mean absolute deviation of a data set? All right, so one way to describe a set of data is with the mean. We worked on that back in chapter 12. However, two data sets may have the same mean but look very different when graphed. When interpreting data sets, it is important to consider how far away the data values are from the mean. All right. And that is what essentially we're going to investigate with mean absolute deviation, otherwise known as MAD, because it drives us mad. Here's an investigation, and we're going to use pieces of this investigation, but not not the whole thing. So the number of magazine subscriptions sold by two teams of students for a drama club fundraiser is shown below. The mean number of subscriptions for each team is 4. I'm going to underline that because we need to know that mean of 4. All right, so we have Team A, Team B, and we already have the average number of subscriptions sold. All right, let's go down to our problem here. And I'm just going to write that mean of 4 over here. First thing you can do is make a dot plot of each data set using the counters for the dots. Then you can draw a vertical line through the mean like you see below. However, I'm going to lead you through a set of steps here that are going to help you calculate the MAD each time as easy as possible. All right, so let's first investigate what mean absolute deviation stands for. So you have MAD here, okay? Mean goes with the M. A for absolute, that is absolute value. If you remember that from the good old days of chapter 3. No, yeah, I think it was probably chapter 3 or 4. And deviation really is another word for differences. So we are going to calculate we're going to use the average of the mean, we're going to find an absolute value, then we're going to subtract to find the differences. So this is really what MAD stands for. So this is the process we are going to go through to work to find the mean absolute deviation. So I'm going to scroll down so I have some space to work here. Start C. Find the mean of the distances from each data set. All right, so first thing we want to do is we want to find the mean of our set. So now we're looking at Team A here. So Team A, bang, here we go, and the mean equals 4. Okay, so the average is 4. What we now want to find is the absolute difference. So you're going to take each point from the data set and you're going to find the the difference between the 2 points using absolute value. So our first point is 3. So we have the mean of 4, and we're going to find the absolute value of 4 minus the absolute value of 3. Now the 4 comes from the mean, the 3 came from Team A first box. That mean difference is 4 minus 3, which is 1. Okay. Now we're going to find the other 3. So we have the absolute value of 4 minus the absolute value of 3 equals 1 again. And then the next point on our table is going to be the 4. So we're going to have the mean absolute, the absolute of 4 minus the absolute value of 4, which is again, that's going to be a 0. It's like 4 minus 4. And then we have 2 5s to handle for Team A. So we're going to do the absolute value of 5 minus the absolute value of 4, and I get a 1. And then again, the absolute value of 5 minus the absolute value of 4 equals 1. All right, so we found the mean, and we have our points from the table up above. And again, I use these points up here. Here's our 3, the 4, the 5, and the 5. That's what I use down here for Team A. And I subtracted and found the difference between the mean and the points in the table. Okay, and now what we're going to do is we're going to find the mean of those differences. So now I'm going to use these values right here. So it says team A, and I already have the 1, so I'm going to do 1 plus 1 plus 0 plus 1 plus 1. I'm finding the mean of the differences. Okay, mean of the differences. So I have the 1 plus 0 plus 1 plus 1. Add those together, you get 4. 4 divided by 5, because I had 5 numbers on the top of our fraction here, gives us an answer of 0.8. So I have a MAD of 0.8. All right, I'm going to do the same exact thing for team B. All right, so here we go. And I'm going to take, and I'm going to have the absolute value of 4 because that's my mean I'm going to use for all of them. So absolute value of 4 minus the absolute value of 0 equals 4. And then the next point is a 1, so I'm going to have the absolute value of 4 minus the absolute value of 1. That's going to equal 3. 4 minus 1 is 3. And then I have another 4, so the absolute value of 4 minus the absolute value of 4 equals 0. And then I have a 7 and an 8, so I'm going to make sure I get those first here. The absolute value of 7 minus the absolute value of 4 gives me a 3. And the absolute value of an 8 minus the absolute value of 4 gives me a 4. So now I have the differences of 4, 3, 0, 3, and 4. And those are the values I'm going to go ahead and use in my Team B MAD. All right, so let's operate here, calculating the MAD, mean absolute deviation for Team B. And the differences were 4 plus 3 plus 0 plus 3 and plus 4, all divided by 5 because I have 5 of the differences. You're going to add that up, you're going to get a 14 divided by 5. And if you take 14 divided by 5 in your calculator, you're going to get an answer of 2.8. Okay, so this is what we did. To find the mean absolute deviation, okay, the first thing you're going to do is always find the mean, which we did right here. Okay, that's provided. The next thing I had to do is I had to take each piece of data and subtract it from the mean to find the differences. That's what I did right here. Okay, so we found the mean, then we used the absolute value to subtract to find the difference, and then I had to use those differences and find a new mean. So the mean of the differences, which is what we did there. It's really a 3-step process. Find your mean, find your differences, find your new mean. All right, and that's the process that we're going to work through when we get to this next example. All right, so I'd like everybody to go ahead now and turn to page 721. Okay, thank you for getting set up. We're going to work through example 1 and all of example 1 here together. Okay, so please follow along. Find the mean absolute deviation, the MAD, for both data sets. Explain which data set is more spread out. Okay, the larger the mean absolute deviation, the more spread out it is. All right, so the number of laps Shauna swam on 5 different days. We have 5, 6, 6, 8, and 10. Her mean is 7, so the mean has already been counted for. So what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and subtract and find the differences between her mean and the data points. Okay, so this is what the work is going to look like. I'm going to take the absolute value of 7 minus the absolute value of 5. That equals 2. The absolute value of 7 minus the absolute value of 6. That equals 1. We've used the 5 and the 6. Absolute value of 7 minus the absolute value of 6 equals 1 again. Takes care of that one. Now 8 and 10 are bigger than 7, so I'm going to start with those. So the absolute value of 8 minus the absolute value of 7 gives me a 1. And the absolute value of 10 minus the absolute value of 7, 10 minus 7 equals 3. All right, so I found the differences. We found the mean. Now we found the differences. The next step is to find the new mean. So I'm going to substitute in my differences. So I use the 2, the 1, the 1, the other 1, and the 3. These values right here are the ones that I just used. And I have 5 of them, so I'm going to divide by 5. So then I have 2 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 3 gives me an answer of 8 over 5. Get that into the calculator. 8 divided by 5 gives me an answer of 1.6. So the mean absolute deviation equals 1.6 laps. All right, what I would like you to do now is I'm going to have you pause the video, and I want you to complete this question here, and then write in your mean absolute deviation down there, and then double check your work with me. All right, so go ahead and take a peek at what I've completed here. You notice I did the absolute value differences of the mean with each data point in the set. So that was the 1, the 3, the 7, the 11, the 13. I found those differences of 6, 4, 0, 4, and 6. I've got those differences here, all added together above 5 because I have 5 points, or 5 pieces of data. 10 plus 10 here is 20, and I have a 5 on the bottom. Okay, so I have 20 divided by 5, which gives me an answer of 4, which means the MAD, or the mean absolute deviation here, is 4 laps. Okay, so the data set here of, in this case, Laura's laps is more spread out. All right, her data is more spread out because she has a greater mean absolute deviation. All right, so what I'd like you to do now is you're going to go ahead and summarize what we've discussed here to help find the MAD. Try to record the steps that we went through and the connection between absolute value and the subtraction and the mean in your summary, and then please form a nice solid question. And remember, if you missed anything when you watched it, please rewatch, rewind, pause, all that good stuff, just to try to build your background for the classwork that's going to take place. Well, this would be tomorrow. So thanks for taking the time to watch the video, and make sure you get those summaries written, and hope you had a great weekend. Goodbye.